wherever you might be. I am your humble host, Mr. David Null, also known as Hawkeye Two Feathers, and I greet you with the love and the honor of the infinite Creator. And I continue to pray that each and every day, that each and every one of you will continue to learn how to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the many blessings from the universe. Now, with that said, I just couldn't sleep. I just this thing just kept rolling around in my head. And, and it's about, Kimmel getting fired and how it's about the FCC going to pull the license from ABC. And it's all about, Trump's doing it. Now, let me tell you, I don't like Jimmy Kimmel. I never, he used to be funny before, and over the years, he's just gotten progressively mean. He had to me and to a lot of other people. He hasn't been funny in quite a while. Every once in a while, he'll slip up and do something funny, but he's gotten mean and very political over the years, and so this what he pulled last night or the day before or whatever, whenever you watch this, um, what he said was, number one, it was a lie. Number two, he was using this young man who's in jail in Utah for, as a suspect for an assassination. And his remarks are such that he thinks that Donald Trump is going to use that heinous act to gain some kind of political advantage. Now, at this point in time, the president and things seem to be running pretty well. And to what political advantage would be that of using a young man on trial to be put in front of a firing squad? And the fact that he hates Donald Trump so badly that he would use this event um, heartlessly without any kind of, you know, regard for his feelings because he hates him. Um, but what about other people? There are other people involved in this. And so you say, well, oh, Trump got him fired. No, I absolutely believe that he got himself fired. He opened his mouth in the wrong way. I did a video yesterday about, the truth. The truth. Yes, you can, and free speech. Oh my goodness, free speech. Here I am voicing my opinion and being able to use free speech. But I'm not calling for the death of Jimmy Kimmel for his nasty remarks and how he has been misleading the public and twisting the narrative for many years now. And it's like, I cringe every time I've tried to watch him in the past. And it's like, I used to be a Democrat. I used to like, um, a little bit of digging every once in a while and some humor. But what he did the last couple of days was just absolutely uncalled for. It was just pure out and out mean, snidely whiplash, tie you to the railroad tracks mean. And I don't think Trump had to actually say anything to get him fired. I don't. I think ABC, the folks there at ABC, oh, they're lean and open and everything, but they have a lot of young people that work for Disney. And Charlie Kirk was all about, um, talking to the young people. He was all about, Jesus Christ and about, um, folks should get married and have children. And, that is a family lifestyle. And Walt Disney was very much about the family. That's why Disney World and Disneyland exist, was because, it was something that the family could enjoy. So here is Kimmel using this event to dig. I mean, it was just snide. It was just mean. And I think the folks at Disney, at ABC, went, oh man, oh dude, oh dude. And then there were folks that called up Disney and said, you know what? Kimmel isn't funny anymore. He's just being mean. And I've seen over the many years, I'll be 73 next week, and I've been watching politics. I watched Lee Harvey Oswald get shot by Jack Ruby that Sunday in Dallas before I went to Sunday Mass. So I've been watching politics and things for a long time. But this right here with Kimmel, he just it, he just went too far. He can say what he wants. Free speech. I did 3 hours on free speech. But when you use your free speech, then you must suffer the consequences. And if people like me, who just absolutely did not like what you said, and the fact that I don't particularly like Jimmy Kimmel, but I'm not going to hate on him, but he was wrong. He was wrong. He could have said that privately. He could have said it backstage, and maybe got a you know um I don't see where there was any humor in what he said. I'm like, well, where's the chuckle? Where's the ha ha in what he said? There wasn't any, because it was just mean. So, being mean spirited like that on national television, on a channel that's being, a little iffy with, comments and things that have happened before. And then here you are, you know, Jimmy Kimmel had the opportunity to make people laugh. He had the opportunity to say anything else than what he said last night. He could have said those types of things in a couple of weeks where it wouldn't have been so raw. Instead, it's only been a couple of days and he's turning the screws. It wasn't funny. It was just plain mean. So, did Trump get him fired? Oh, hell no. For you folks out there that think that Trump got him fired, oh, hell no. He got himself fired. He did not have to say what he said. Oh, but he has the free speech. He can say what he wants. Absolutely. But that was just out of context. He lied. The young man is not MAGA. And no, Donald Trump was not trying to use the possible firing squad death of a young man that's accused of being the assassin for Charlie. No, no. So all of you folks out there, and I know that there are going to be folks on the right that are going, well, I don't know, Charlie should have if Kimmel should have got fired, or if they should have closed his show down or whatever, but they send him home for 2 weeks without pay, or and put in a put in somebody funny in his slot, take him out and give some young up and coming star you know a Republican in there, you know, and bring some different guests on and make it more upbeat instead of so nasty and mean and all the time, where a lot of stuff that he said just wasn't funny to a lot of us. And so, um, to Jimmy Kimmel, who will never watch this, but hopefully to some other people, don't blame this on Trump. Trump didn't do this. He did it himself. Jimmy Kimmel was just plain mean. And free speech, like in the video I did yesterday, free speech has consequences. And when you say what you want and how other people are finding it, they're losing their jobs and people are, criticizing them for their their free speech. Um, it's like, well, suffer the consequences. If you put this out for millions of people to watch, I'd be glad for 10 or 20 of yous. I love you. Um, but the fact that, the everybody's going to blame this on Trump, and it's not. This Trump didn't do this. Trump, along with a lot of us other folks, are stating our opinions, didn't like what he said, thought it was inappropriate, you know, that wasn't a joke. He lied about the contents about this young kid being MAGA. That's one thing, misrepresenting, and then trying to make a he Kimmel was trying to make political points by doing the thing that he was blaming Trump for, by using this event to gain certain political points. But now here's Kimmel using this event to score political points by being mean and twisting it in there and using something that isn't true and is absolutely false. Nobody was trying to use the event for any political gain or whatever, but Kimmel did and was. He was using the event to gain his own points to gain his own whatevers with his seemingly weird base of folks. But he sure lit a fire with them folks at ABC. Donald Trump did not get him fired. I have said things in the past in jobs that I've had, and David Null has stuck his foot in his mouth more times than I care to count. And I've had to go back and apologize and backpedal and think of some groovy things to say to keep my ass from getting fired and to keep my butt out of hot water. Oh, you betcha. And there have been times when I could have said some things about some bosses that I worked for that would have been mean, bad, and nasty, like what Kimmel said the other night. And I was being mean spirited. So I can speak from experience in what mean spirited looks like. I don't want to repeat the stuff that I did or thought, but you know, in my watching the clips of Kimmel, I'm like, that was just uncalled for. No matter how much deranged Trump derangement Kimmel has, that he just didn't have to do that. And to use that event for his seemingly his political advantage to make him look better within with his peers, for him to look better and oh, look at me, I'm picking on Trump, and that guy, because they said, oh, Trump was like uh, um Trump considered Charter to be like a son, so it's like, so let me go pick on him, and it's like, so you knew how Trump felt if you watched a little bit of the news, and how Trump and Trump Jr. and the family felt about Charlie. And then, so for 4 days later, or 5 days, 4 days, for Kimmel to use anything about the assassination, anything, anything on the subject, to use and twist, and that Donald Trump was trying to use this for his political advantage. I'm sorry, I agree that, Kimmel this time was sick and demented. Whoever his writer was, and he agreed to it. His producers agreed to let him say it on the air in front of everybody. It wasn't just Kimmel saying it. It was the fact that the whole crew for the night show, late night or whatever, with Kimmel is the whole crew, the whole production staff. There's a director of that's sitting in the booth and watching what's going on and making sure that everybody's on their mark and that the cameras are doing, and a lot of the script is, they know what the script is ahead of time. They know what he's going to say and when he's going to say it, so there can be any sound effects or lighting or whatever, the camera can keep up with him, whatever it is. So that there were people knew ahead of time what Kimmel was going to say, and they let him say it. So Should Kimmel and that show get taken off the air? Should they pull it? Well, it wasn't just Kimmel that did it. Okay. There was the director and the people. Now, does that mean the cameramen were in on it or something? No. Does that mean that there were other staff members who were like, going along with it? No. But there are a lot of people who were cheering, like, yeah, it was not funny. And the only reason somebody might have laughed is they hate Donald Trump as badly as Kimmel does. So the Jimmy Kimmel show has become how bad we hate Donald Trump and the rest of the Republicans. And I'm sorry, but and MAGA. Oh God, MAGA. Well, I do want to make America great again. I'm 73 years old. I've seen America go through a lot of stuff. And I would love to see America, get picked back up again. I've stated for years, you know, I lost my engineering job. Jobs went to Mexico. I know exactly what it's like. I want to see these things come back to America. I was personally, um, slapped in the face with jobs going, south of the border. To see the jobs come back to America, well, hell yeah. Of, of course, I'm going to support Donald Trump. But this idea that somebody like Jimmy Kimmel can continuously pound on the president of the United States, on Donald J. Trump, and to last night, make up this that the shooter was a MAGA person and that they were trying their best to use this for political, um, some kind of political advancement is just outright insane. It's wrong, and it's wrong, and it's wrong, but it's also downright insane that he would come up with it, that the writers would write it, and that they would go ahead and publicly agree to air it on ABC. So there were guys that woke up in the morning, yesterday morning, and they were having their morning coffee and drinking drinking coffee and reading the newspaper or going through the headlines, and then they found that. And there were people going, yo, I don't know if Bob Iger still got anything to do with it. Hey, yo, Bob, what the hell's going on? This Kimmel guy's gone too far. Yeah, we need to, somebody, well, I done told you we needed to rein him back, and there he goes. Are you kidding me? The president's going to sue our ass. What the hell is wrong with him? You have a talk with that boy. Now, phone gets hung up, phone calls are received, phone calls are made. The folks that called up that are, advertisers go, hey, look, man, nah, sorry, he went too far this time. We're pulling our ads. They're pulling our ads, and that's that. Talk to you later, bye. And hung up. So the board of directors at Disney didn't take long where they're having video conferences going, man, we got to pull this guy. Well, what are we gonna do? Well, we're gonna pull him in it, we're gonna pull his show indefinitely. That's what we're gonna do. And we're gonna take a look back and we're gonna see how the public reacts about this. We're gonna see what the fallout is. and we're going to see if we can find somebody else to take his place for a third of the money. How about that? And if we get rid of him, we won't get sued. So we're going to save us $1 billion right there. Then because Trump won't sue us. So let's pull the show until further notice, and we'll see if we'll discuss whether or not we want to save the show and put somebody else in the slot. Which to ABC, there's nobody else except you know Gutfeld, which is great. And but last night's show, I think it was, I laughed my bananas off. Man, it was funny. Um, and there was political humor without people getting nasty. So there's a way to be humorous without just being mean. You know, especially the star of the show, the person who's supposed to introduce guests, who's supposed to set the tone for the show and for the guests and for the audience. And hey, you know having performed in front of a lot of people over the years, you want to set a tone. That I performed in front of a lot of little children with the puppets, and you had to set a if it was supposed to be dark and subtle, then you brought the lights down. And if it was something bright and cheery, then I had some old piano music in the background, some calliope music, and things to brighten up the mood. And so here is the host of the show just acting mean. No other way to put it. Just act. I have thought about it, and just acting mean. So I'm not necessarily on anybody's side with this. Okay. Do I think that the FCC should get involved by what he said? No, no. But because of all the things that Kimmel has said over the last 10 years, one might question whether or not ABC was really that they have to fulfill their obligations. There is a list of things that these stations, ABC must follow these rules, that they must provide so many hours of, good children's entertainment. They have to, provide so many hours of this. There are rules for their application for them to get a license to operate over the air. And so you say, well, turn them into the FCC. Well, you go, but wait, hang in there. Hey, Crow. Yeah, as well as possible. I can't go to sleep because of this dadgum stuff. And, it just pisses me off if they want to blame this on Trump, and it's like, no, no, this is Kimmel's fault. No, Kimmel has, as the host of the show, he has the opportunity to take that show in all kinds of ways that are funny and are absolutely entertaining, instead of coming out with this mean, twisted, we'll come back as Richard. So, but anyway, I couldn't sleep. Hey, Richard. I could, yeah, but you got to come back that way so you can monitor the chat, right? But no, I just, I sat here looking at the clock and I was like, man, this pisses me off. I really want to say something. And I'm looking at, going through and clicking through and, it's all about this President Trump's fault. And I'm like, no, it ain't. No, you know, no. Kimmel's a dumbass. know, I was, I was, I was, well, I waited 30 minutes before I called him a dumbass, which is probably a record for me. But no, I watched it over, and people were saying, "Oh, well, they should do this, and the FCC should get involved." And I listened to it again, and then I listened to it again, and then I had other people. I listened to other people recite it and listened to it again, and no, I didn't see it. Oh, and by the way, did you see the new drops from Christus that are on the that other channel? Peter, what? I'm sorry. Peter Mouse had been sacked over his comment. Oh yeah. What about the Epstein birthday book? I'm having no, I missed that. But this particular topic, just watching folks just that it's of course in the news everything is Trump's fault, and I was like, no, 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 no. Um, I don't think so. No, not this time. No. And I listened to Kimmel again, and I was like, no, no, because I'm like, no, there's the producer in the room with the cameras and cut one and do this and listening in and no, it wasn't just him. All of these people agreed on what he was going to say, and that is mean. So that was it was predetermined. All these folks knew what they were doing ahead of time. They were going to put this out there. He was going to come out with his monologue and he was going to say this, and he did. So to be fair, I don't think that Kimmel should be held liable by himself. That's my point. You know, I can't go there. What is that too? Is that Trump's message? Okay. So I think the staff of the Late Show, I don't know what it's called, not to trust Trump or Biden, as both was as bad as each other. Yep. But here's the thing. I'm there's no way I could have voted for Kamala Harris. No effing way. No, 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 no. Who, Trump and Biden? Well, Trump was friends with a lot of people. But the thing about Trump that I've watched, I lost my job to Mexico. So he wants to put tariffs on Mexico and bring the jobs back. I'm on his side, you know. I understand no choice with boating. Same in UK. So there are things that I directly appreciate that Trump is trying to do, that he has set some things in motion to do. Um, do I agree with everything? No. But there are, especially in manufacturing, and since I was involved in the automotive business, since went to Detroit and saw the decline, and then went across the bridge into Windsor, Canada, and saw all of the hey Lucky, and saw, I guess is a recording now. Yeah, maybe so. But so went across the bridge to Canada and into Windsor and saw the huge Ford plant, and drive down the road and there's a huge Chrysler plant literally across the river from Detroit, because they decided years ago that it was cheaper labor on the other side of the river. So all the Americans got laid off, lost their jobs, and all those jobs went to Canada. Canadians are nice people, but they ain't American. They literally took the jobs across the river and gave them to other folks. And so the city of Detroit has been in decline. And so now Trump is like, no, 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 no. And so Ford especially, Ford's going, oh man, come on, you know. So all of them spark plug wires that we built and sent to Ford uh, in Canada, now Ford has to pay a tariff to bring them back into the United States. And I love it. I love it. You know, slap them Ford guys around a little bit, because it was stupid what they did to begin with. So they're going to bring back the jobs to America. And I know what it's going to be like in a couple of years when this really does start taking off. Trump and his other folks, when they talk about this, I know what happened in our neighborhood when the plant closed, and how many independent mom and pop shops closed, and how many other supply houses suffered, because sometimes we needed 2x4s, sometimes we needed hardware, sometimes we needed a hose for something, and you had to go into town to get it or something. But so um, all of the people who suffered in our community, um, yes, it has a massive effect on it all. So, but and so to see that be revitalized, it's not just the factory workers who are going to benefit. It's going to be the neighborhoods. It's going to be the mom and pop stores. It's going to be all the little shops and things, because not only are the workers going to be able to buy things, and they will, but it's also the industry itself is going to need things within the community. Not everything can be supplied from outside sources. You can bring a truck in if you need paper goods, okay. But if you need a printer um, cartridge or something, and the truck hadn't come in, you gotta go into you gotta go into town to the office supply and get yourself a toner, for your printer. And but anyway, so and there are other things too. Now, I've known some folks in the chemistry area back years ago, and the fact that they had made um, such strides in scrubbers, scrubbers that go inside, chimney stacks and things like for clean coal. And so they, well, is coal any cleaner? No, but how they process it and how they use it is a hundred is a lot better. And so, and what I knew 15 years ago about my friend who is, still in the industry, and because they were into um, building sewage treatment plants and treatment things, smokestacks, how to do stuff, um, cleanliness wise, EPA wise. And so, but anyway, so now in these clean coal burner things, what makes it clean coal is how they burn the coal, and anything that goes up the smokestack, how they're able to capture the sulfur and things and the particles. They have honey. They're like catalytic converters, basically, and so and that's what makes the coal so much better now. So this idea that, oh my God, we're using coal again, we're not going to be able to breathe. Chill out. Our worries are not about whether or not we're going to die from the smell of coal, fumes. What about those airplanes up yonder that keep flying and keep, filling the skies with that crap? And you're worried about some coal dust? Shops shutting as can't compare with prices from Mallorca. I bet we'll ban coal in the next 10 years. That for every day, hey Katniss, for every day that they burn coal, there are chemists and engineers who are seriously working to figure out how to use coal because we got a crap load of it. You know, we got a crap load of it, and they have, I've seen um, some of the coal mines in Kentucky, and when I was out west, we seen a coal train come out of a mountain. God Almighty, I couldn't believe it. We were heading down a highway and seeing a train, and looking out the window, and it's like, "Hey, Danny, what's that? What's in those cars?" Oh my God, that's coal. Wow. And we watched this train come out of this mountain, and it came out of the mountain, and it came out of the mountain, and it kept coming out of the mountain. And about a mile later, this train was still coming out of this mountain full of coal. Oh no, we're all going to die because of coal dust and everything. Because it is such a plentiful resource, and because they've got mining, they've got it down pat, you know. Now, knock on wood, we've not had any kind of coal mine incident in recent years. There's always, anytime you work underneath in the ground, you always run the risk of Mother Earth, doing something, or machinery break in or something. But oh, happy birthday, Katniss. That's right. It's tomorrow. Mine's Wednesday. So But because I knew people in the business, they're probably dead now too, is because I'm getting old. But there are there are people desperately trying to make sure that the engineering for the burning of coal for power plants and other things is um, is as clean as possible. They really are. And the byproducts of coal. I mean, after they burn the coal, you got to dig it out, and there's that. So there are folks who are seriously like, we can solve this, and because the coal industry took such a big hit when they started um, banning coal everywhere, that the folks in the coal business, not just mining, but in the coal business, they went, if we're going to survive, we got to do better. We have to present our industry better. We have to do better, meaning better scrubbers in the stacks, better methods of burning the coal. And there's all about, I've got a coal stove back here that I burn wood in. Okay. And you got to get it just right or it'll burn too fast. And if you don't, it's got an adjustment door on the bottom. It's got an adjustment thing on the front on the door, and and you can adjust the flue, and you get all of them things just right, and that stove will just sit there and cook. But if one of those things is off and it gets too much air, then it'll start going, and you can hear it roar, and it's going to burn. It's going to keep you warm. It's going to keep you warm, but it's going to burn the wood faster. And it's going to, and it's like, well, wait a minute. I just filled the damn thing up. Yeah, well, I had one of them little draft thingies open a little bit too much. And same thing, if you don't have them open enough, then the fire goes out. And then you got a bunch of smoke build up, and that builds up in your pipes and everything. So you know, there's a lot to the coal about how you burn it. So, and technology has gotten much better. So um, we can do better, and we have done better. So, but one of the things that Kimmel and a bunch of other folks is like, all of that kind of stuff is bad. That the only thing we can have to survive is solar, and the only thing we can have to survive are windmills. We got to quit everything else. And as folks are finding out, the windmills aren't standing up. The blades, can't be recycled. They have to be replaced so many years, and how much that's expensive. I've seen a couple of these windmills, and that one I saw at the Honda plant in Ohio, I talked with my brothers and sisters, and they're like, that thing, it never goes any faster. There's a high wind up here in Ohio, and those blades never turn faster. They're always at the same speed. And so everybody in the neighborhood up there around Bell Fountain and up there, Russell Point, they're all like, we think it's fake. Well, what do you mean? Because isn't a windmill supposed to go faster when there's a higher wind? Yeah. And so it was a windy day, one of the days I was up there visiting, and I sat out there in the distance watching this thing turn. It never it never changed speed. So Oh, but wind is the answer. No, it ain't. So it's supplemental at best. But Germany's found out, they turned everything over to, alternative energies, and they were doing real well. They installed solar collectors along the Autobahn and stuff. Um, that's a good point. I've noticed that too on a windy day with a huge, yeah, they don't turn any faster. You know, n- pick up speed just a little bit, but I mean, not turn any faster at all. So there are a lot of folks who are saying that it's a ruse, that they're using electricity to turn the windmill, and that as long as it keeps turning and people see it, they go, "Oh, look, we're using, so we're using wind energy. Look how good we are." Now they got some big ass solar farms down here in South Georgia. They took up a bunch of farmland and they have put in some big solar farms down here. So Georgia Power and them folks here in Georgia, and the state of Georgia, they're serious about their solar. I would have thought the more wind and speed, yeah, would pick up. Proves nothing is logical. Yeah, it's just illogical. It just seems like the solar panels, that's all got to get converted and into AC power, and but at least Georgia Power, they have secured these farms. They, I guess, they look good. I think they're gaudy, but they're there, and at least um, unless something happens to these solar panels, they're there, for the duration. But I know it costs a bundle for them to put these solar farms in, but they're there, and we'll see what the payback is on them, And I live in Georgia, and our EMC buys power from the grid, and then they pass that not necessarily savings on to me. Oh man, I just passed the 20. So, Kimmel, grow a pair and quit being mean. This ought to be a lesson to you. I'm still mad about it. you know, I'm trying to stand up for free speech, and I'm trying to stand up because I think, blaming it on Trump ain't right. I'm trying to blame. No, I don't like what you did there, buddy. So, let's take a vote. You know, a societal vote. How many of us think you did wrong, bud? How many of us think you aren't funny anymore? How many of us think you should lose your job? Mm, I I just don't think you're funny. And so if I was a betting man and I'm trying to get, you know, advertisers in, dude, Jimmy Kimmel is not my first. Look how funny he is. Ha ha ha. He, takes digs at the president all the time. Ha ha ha. Ain't he funny? Ha 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 ha. Look at the guests he has on. Oh, it's all divisive and everything. Ha 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 ha. Yeah, oh, and by the way, he's a prick. Oh, ha 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 ha. Don't you want to, and his show cost us millions of dollars a year to produce. Ha 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 ha. And little kids at Disney World are supporting his habit. Disney, get somebody funny. For God's sakes, Get somebody funny. I could be funnier than Jimmy Kimmel. And, no, get somebody else. Male version of Ellen. That's a good one. What was the guy that was on late night? Oh, the guy, the Scottish guy. Anyway, I thought he was funny, you know, and you could come up with all kinds of mess, right? So, that Kimmel is not funny. So, but anyway, ABC, it's up to you whether or not you keep the slot open. It's your slot. Um, I say don't give up, but find somebody funny. And, you know, if you're in the entertainment business, at least, yeah, at least, that's right. And I know something about it because I was in the entertainment business. I traveled around and entertained children with puppet shows, live and in color. And I do know what it's like to be in front of, 200 kids who are like screaming and hollering, and I could shut them up like that, by entertaining them, right? And so I do know something about it, but for goodness sakes, quit quit blaming it on the president. Quit blaming it on the White House. Quit blaming it on the Republicans. We as a social collective do not like what you did and how you did it. And so therefore, your free speech is up for a societal vote. Raise your hands if you liked what he did. Not raise your hands if you hated what he did. Okay, well, I don't want to use the word hate. So I'm not going to hate on him. But dislike, buddy, you're on my dislike list. Blame blame Putin. Yeah, he gets it for everything else. And I heard something today that was sort of um, a, a Russian political thing, and it was like, Putin wants things done a particular way, and the generals say, "Ha, you know, okay, Putin," and then the generals go out and do what they want to do. So it's like there's Putin, and then there's the generals. So there are people blaming Putin for some of this stuff when it ain't him. It's his generals. And the generals are going, no, no, listen here, Vlad. We know what's right for Russia. And so we sent drones over. We sent bombers over. We sent tanks in. And Vlad's going, okay. He has no control over, nope, not like what Trump has over here. Nope, not a bit, you know. So it's the same thing. So Vlad's getting blamed for things that his generals are doing, in the name of Mother Russia. But yeah, but it's Putin, and maybe not. Well, he was in the KGB, so you know. Um, I was going to try to say that Trump was into something, but I couldn't think anything. So, but anyway, I bet he's stopping most of the wrath from Russia and Ukraine. Um, yeah. Well, Richard, I was reminded by a drop from Dante that the war was supposed to be over by now in the Ukraine, but there's still a faction that is dug in there that, you know, they're still there and they didn't expect to be still having a war in the Ukraine. You know, there's is supposed to be concluded and it ain't. So the Dante group and those folks, they have misjudged um, misjudged the foreign investment. Well, I think they. God, I hate. He's not funny. He'd get. He, he's not supposed to what? Yeah, he's not. Yeah, Kimmel lost whatever charisma he had years ago, and to me, he just wasn't even a very good late night host. So, you know, there are just other people out there um, that could do a better job. You know, that just, they could. Yeah, he even looks like a lizard. Yeah, especially lately. I mean, he comes out with this demeanor. It's not even he's not lighthearted at all. You know, and in that respect, God, I hate using this word, but it's almost demonic because he's got this darkness, and watching him do that little spit that he did the other night, I'm like, it was it was like, he was exuding, like in a yes, like Helen, fake person, Kimmel. I bet what? I bet he is a. Oh yeah, I bet he's a complete and total douchebag in person. You know, there are folks who go, Jimmy Fallon's fun to be around. Jimmy Fallon's, you know, he's a comic, and but nobody says, hey, gee, that Jimmy Kimmel, he's such a card, Yeah. You know, maybe she should go to the Ukraine anyway. I've heard that the Ukraine is beautiful though, except for the bombs this time of year. Here's something, since it's been an hour and 4 minutes. Take two. But sort of going back to the Dante thing and the videos that I saw this evening that got dropped on that other channel, um, are, him looking at that praying mantis in his car and him having a little chat with it, and him saying, the monsters are here. Now, and then there's the video of that sea serpent kind of thing floating around in the sky. And even MB333 had, in fact, that was one of the videos that he put up, was that there's this thing up in the sky that Mr. MBB um, showed the video of. Now, so the monsters are already here, and it's them big things with the tentacles in the sky. They're here, and the talks of the insectoids, that they're here. Okay. Um, and I haven't said anything about reptilians or anybody, right? Or the Pleiadians or the Tall Whites or whoever, or the Galactic Federation. But Dante's, you know, the monsters. Yeah, Pathfinders. Yeah. I think I watched them all. I go in and check them every day to see if there's been any. Yeah, that squid looking things that are in the sky. Yeah. Um, they look kind of creepy, you know. Now, are they here and they're just going to float around in the sky, and we have to make sure that we don't run into them with airplanes and stuff? Or are they going to start trying to eat us or something? The copyrights on those videos are crazy for music and film flaggings. Yeah, but some of how they got away with some of the stuff they got away with. What allies? Oh, they're allies. Oh, okay. They are not bad. Right. So here's the thing, Richard. The black creature flying with the long legs, good guys. Oh well, that's sort of my point. You know, but what about the rest of the population? Now you see, I could talk about it, and me and you could say, no, they're good guys, and I believe you. I guess because of our mutual acquaintance, I guess you could say, with Dante, and so I could accept it. Okay, and there are videos and pictures of them, so it's like that's obviously not AI. Okay, then, there's a giant squid thingy in the sky. Ooh, you know, um, okay. So the next thing for me would be, how interesting. You know, do they talk? Where have they been? What kind of stories do those beings have? Now, see, I'm weird. You know, that's the Fodivar. And so I can never remember them. But when you say it, I go, yeah, yeah, yes, those guys. Um, Dr. John Campbell, DNA scientist, and the contamination of the mRNA vaccines. the vaccines are contaminated with human and other types of DNA in with the mRNA in the vaccines. What? There's not supposed to be DNA in the vaccine. What? So, but anyway, so now one thing that I think we know because of what happened in the Gulf of America, formerly known as the Gulf of Mexico, when the Deep Horizon event went off. Yeah, they found that meteorite. Now, I don't know if that's true. Oh, you mentioned the black goo. That is exactly where I was headed. Dante told us the story about how there was this entity long time ago, and they couldn't kill her, so they locked her deep inside the planet. And that the Deepwater Horizon broke into her cell and basically let her out. At least her proportions. And that's where the black goo, the the original black goo. Now that German guy over there that first found the black goo, and he was like, it was in a petri dish and he noticed it moving and stuff. That's not the same black goo as the black goo that has come out of the Gulf. It's a different goo. The goo out of the Gulf of Mexico is malevolent, not benevolent. Now, the one that guy over in Austria or Germany or another wherever he was when he was when he first started it years ago, um, that wasn't the bad goo. It just not benevolent. How can black goo be benevolent? The squid looking things in the sky are good folks working with the K. Yep, right. That's right, Oki. From a moon of Jupiter. Right. So that's sort of what I'm talking about. But the black goo thing, yeah, I knew about two, and I think there was a discussion about the three types. I remember seeing the video that Dante put out it's been years ago now, of where there's like a CC camera on the corner, and there's a car chase, and this one car goes by, and they say, "Well, that's the bad guys," and then the next car goes by is the good guys, and then something happens, and the bad guys slow down, and it's like they I want to say they poured it out. They put it out of the car, the vehicle, and here's this black stuff, and you could see it moving across the the pavement, and that the Carista's car came by, and the black goo tried to attach itself to the tires, and there was commentary in there, and I remember watching it and then watching it again, going, you know, beware of the blob, it creeps and weeps and glides and slides across the floor. A blob, a splotch, be careful of the blob. And as a child, I used to have dreams and freak out that the blob was going to come into our bedroom and come up the the uh, the bedpost and get on the bed and eat me while I was sleeping. Uh, yeah, I hated that TV series, The Blob. I also used to have dreams. Oh man, when it first came out at the movie theater, and we went down as kids and we saw Hopalong Cassidy and all that and some cartoons, and then they showed the commercial, all us kids in there in the Sulphur Springs Theater, and there was the blob. Beware, it will creep up and then it's like, holy fudge, monkey. No. And we were all like, wow, screaming, popcorn, sodas. And I'm watching the thing going, the blob. Oh. Well, then there was the song. And, that was just car throw the liquid out the window on the road. Yeah, they did throw it out the window, right? I was right about that. Thing is, also a good idea, xenomorph and mutation from subject it eats. So it changes into a foot if it eats a foot. That's a bad. Um, oh, you got it. So, but anyway, yeah, I remember that, and I couldn't remember how the how it got on the street. So, but they did throw it out the window. Okay. So, on TikTok, found a freaking blurb. Yeah. It said they say it's growing. Can't share most is right. Understood. Um, I don't know whether or not what he's got is is a real deal. There's too many fakes of stuff out there, and I'm just gonna hold my skepticism a little while longer. I guess until it eats somebody. But at the moment, okay, it's the way they videotaped the meteor coming in. It's like, oh, here it is, it's coming in, and they ran out to chase it, and then there was the thing in the ground. It's the way it's staged, not necessarily that he found it, and it's the way the whole thing is edited. Here comes the meteor, this thing in the sky, right at them, and oh, they're videotaping the thing. What you knew to grab your phone because you see this thing coming in, and you knew. I mean, it's the lineup of stuff that I'm just like, what? Oh, and then he takes it home, and then it starts growing, and then it's gotten bigger, and then it's like, oh, okay, it's the way it's staged. You understand? And that's just it. It looks staged. You know, it doesn't look just. It doesn't flow naturally. It all looks staged. Yeah, 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 man. That's it. Yeah, that's the ticket. The Black Goo videos are on Instagram by Dabs and Metals. Well, living close to the Gulf and not on it, but you know, it's 100 miles south of me. Um, it's too close to come for something that's evil, wicked, mean, and bad and nasty. that might crawl up the Oclockney River here and crawl up the little Oclockney River, looking for something to eat, and it comes to my house, and black no, I don't want to talk about it. That should be one of those things that you uh, that we don't talk about. So what do you mean we don't? That's we don't discuss the thing that shall not be named. Well, but we just talked about. I know, but that was something that shall not be named. We should not discuss it because it brings power to it, and you get my drift. Oh, but it's interesting that there are enough of us that have heard about it. I will take a look at the Black Goo videos and see if I can edit out the copyrighted the videos are controversial. Yeah. Yeah, it's a taboo subject, all right. And the one where he talks about the queen something or other that got locked, in that part that explains it. Um, if anybody Coronas, that's right. And I don't know where he got the clips, but whoever it was that that played Coronas in the video of that ugly hag. Oh, mm, I can still see her in my head. Go away. you know, I am. Well, I am to share it by the. And what? Nowadays, it's so hard to share stuff, let alone talk about it. Yeah, Richard, I know what you mean. But, between us, I know that, any millions of people can watch what we're talking about. That's right. It was a pre, it was supposed to take us out. And then the video I saw the other day was that some medical company had paid the city of San Francisco or something, um, that when the fog rolled in from the Pacific, that they had a fireboat tug out there with, big, um, big fire hoses to spray a chemical high up into the fog, and where it would cling to the fog and cling to the mist, and the mist would come into San Francisco Bay Area, and people would breathe it in. They're putting shit on the fog. And as the fog comes in, you're like, well, you know, I was on the coast of California, and it was beautiful where we were at. We were in Northern California. And when the fog came in, and oh man. And when it left, it was gone. But, you know, whole areas along the coast, it was just thick, you know. And so it's like, and could you imagine somebody? Of course, they're spraying that shit up in the sky on us, but it's just a foggy day, and in that fog, somebody has sprayed something. You don't know what, and you're just, oh, it's a foggy day, and then you get something. Well, I remember as children in Tampa, we would ride our bicycles behind the Mosquito Man. Now, the Mosquito Man was pumping out this fog, and I remember riding our bikes in it, and we were in the fog and blah, blah, blah. You know, we should all be dead. And Brad just came out of a big operation, but he's still alive. Butch is still alive. My sister's still alive. Uh, you know, Danny, no, he just passed, but most of us in the neighborhood that used to ride our bikes behind the mosquito truck with all that poison and everything going in the air, we're not dead. So, you know, I'm curious about why not. you know, but so anyway, I got off topic from Kimmel, didn't I? But and I took an hour. I recorded some of the odd clouds while I was. Yeah, there's some strange stuff going on. Um, there seems to be some strange lights in the sky, of course, but some of these I check and they're too bright to be stars. And you go, well, Dave, how do you know? Well, because you know what I know about astronomy, that especially where I see the really bright things at night, there's not supposed to be anything there. And there's not supposed to be anything that is as bright as that object is, but not supposed to be there, you know? And then there are constellations, and thanks to my new eyes, looking up, I can't focus. The damn things are double. I hate it. So, but that some of these things, and I learned years ago, and it might have been Dante that said it, that they will put a spaceship exactly where a star or a planet is. And when you look up, you go, oh, that's part of Sagittarius. But there's a spaceship there that's one of the stars, acting as one of the stars of Sagittarius or wherever. So there's that. And it seems like I have seen that here recently again. Big bright one down here in the south. Ain't supposed to be nothing down out there that bright. I mean, really bright, and rather large. Brighter than Jupiter. You know, much brighter than Jupiter, and like, and it doesn't really twinkle. It changes colors, but it doesn't twinkle like a star does. So, but anyway, so my dear friends, going to take another hit off of this. I'm going to send you prayers. Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Scotty Boy, and whoever else is here at the moment. Says three of yous. Thank you so much. Um, that video that Dante said, and it was last year's video, because he said the war should be over in 2025. So, Pathfinder, hey, stay thirsty, my friend. Notice everything. Yeah. So in that video, that was like, and thank you, Pathfinder. Um, that that there were only 1972s left, and that they should all start their missions. And I was like, as I was watching it, I was going, but that was last year. So that's an old video that's reposted, and I'm listening to, and it's like, it sounds like it's current, but it's not. It's a year old. So it's like, so did the 1972s go on their missions? Did they complete them? And here's the thing: since the war is still going on over there in the Ukraine, my thought is that apparently not. Now I had this thought after seeing um, Vladimir from the Ukraine speak, just his mannerisms, wearing black all the time. Just when he was, in the Oval Office with Trump. Right. Don't mean there's supposed to be. Cheers, Okie. Um, where was I going with that? My brain just got wiped. They don't want me talking about it. Okay, I won't talk about it. All right, and it is early in the morning. No, but as far as the Silent 72, I still feel like us having a conversation. Somebody might be listening in, and for us having a conversation when all things, yeah, talking about the end of the war, yeah. Oh, and the 72s, right? You know, I would think that just because it ain't over, that that, as he said, that there was going to be some of their missions had to be you know reformulated. That's not his words, they're mine. But contingency plans have to be rearranged. Yeah, one stops and another starts. And you kill you kill off one general, in a battle or whatever, and you think, oh man, we progress. And then the next son bitch that comes and takes his place is worse and more vicious, and and it's a shame. But listening to the president of the Ukraine, there were times when I was thinking that I was wishing ill on him, that like what happened to Charlie Kirk. I'll just say it that way. And it's like, can't somebody can't somebody drop a bomb on this guy? I mean, I, I guess that's being mean, and I shouldn't think that. But would it matter if somebody dropped a bomb on this guy? And it's like, would it get better? Would it be worse? Is you know So, and shame on me for thinking that, but it's like, golly, um, that's what they do in the jungle, you know. It's like, hey, we don't even, bam, and he gets it, So, but I guess over there they like the guy, but you know, they have done bad things and have cheated in the election and have done some other stuff. Oh, with the help of the CIA, of course. But maybe, just maybe, if he took a vacation, that somebody that took his place might not be as bad. I'm just saying. So, but anyway, I do keep praying that they will come to some kind of resolution. But that means shaking hands with the devil. I was thinking about it earlier, and it was like, the Charlie Kirk thing, and it's like he's passed on. He's on the other side. He was not for violence or whatever. Um, and so, what would he? How would he feel now um, about this kid that killed him? About him facing the firing squad, or he should get life in prison. You know. Now it's up to the courts to decide. But a lot of folks are going firing squad. You know, no lethal injection for this dude. Nah. Eye for an eye. You shot him, we shoot you. Okay. But at the same time, is that really what we should be doing? Right? Should we be shooting him because he shot somebody? Should we be doing that? Should we be better than that? But then at the same time, you know, with what has happened and what he did, could I go, okay, could I go and shake hands with the person that did it? Could I go over and say, okay, I know you had a grudge and you did what you did, but let's shake hands. Now, I'm not involved in any of it, right? I just know the situation. And I absolutely felt bad. And I didn't see the blood spurt, but I saw right up to it. I know what it would look like to hit the, carotid artery there, or that one thing anyway. Um, could I go shake hands with him? Could I go and say, okay, you know, don't do that no more? Of course, we're going to lock you up for the rest of your life, but don't be thinking them kind of thoughts. And that maybe in 10 years somebody goes, well, you know, how does he get a rifle up? Oh, I know how. And there's a guy that's out there that shows how he's got a younger kid stuff the rifle down his pants and up his shirt. And now, the one thing that they did was they took the scope off. Um, but Oh, go ahead, Richard. No, but I'm and looking at the video, he comes across and he does have something wrapped in a towel, and he drops it first in what looks like a gutter right there at the corner. And then as he's going over the side, he reaches back in for it and brings it down off of the roof with him. Uh, I absolutely see it, and to be wrapped. Now, what doesn't seem right is how long it is. It coming off of the roof. It doesn't. I see the towel or whatever it is, and I see him drop it. And then he gets down and starts over the side, and then he grabs it, and then he drops to the ground. And then that's where it doesn't look at the right size. I think this Epstein birthday book thing has ruffled a few feathers. I've not heard about the birthday book thing. Oh, you sent me a link. I'll try to get to it. Um, One of the things that I want to stand up for the FBI, Cash Patel and Dan Bongino are not the old guard. And I think that they are Mr. Trump is in trouble covering up a lot of stuff. Yep, I believe that. Potter Mendelsohn, what? Has already been fired and the photos released. Yeah, there was a discussion about 6 weeks ago I ran across this, CK knows this and a lot more, so to kill CK. Who is CK? CK. Well, anyway, what I was going to say about the FBI and everything. I think there are so many files and there are so many stacks of stuff that over the years, whoever, just throw it in, just put it in that room over there, put it in the corner and put some shit in front of it. And I think there is a lot of that. And they say there is. And I believe it. Um, but what I believe more is that there are files on on sticks. I've got a stick over here that's got thousands and thousands of files on it. And, it's a 128, 26, thingy. And that's just one. I've got several of them around here, and I got photos and things and stuff, and I have no idea what's on it. I got a hard drive right there that's a half a terabyte that I've backed up two or three hard drives and other computers with. I've got files and things that date back 15, 20 years. I have no idea what's on those files. So I diverted from the files drop of the birthday book, and also it takes all the news and then what goes forward using CK as an image for his push. Oh, CK, as in Charlie? Oh, that's interesting. Oh, so you think CK was going to expose Trump? Boy, I wonder what it could be. And if that's what it is, oh, shame on them. But then I guess that would prove that he is Mater. Yep, I was just kind of sort of thinking that. Well, Melania seems like she's a good person. Since she come from the Ukraine, is she from a hybrid stock? Well, I hope that if CK had something on DJT, uh, I guess it's a shame that there had to be something out there that he would have. You know what I mean? When she is as sharp as a knife. Yep. And when she's hiding underneath that hat, she's watching shit, boy. Yeah, buddy. She ain't stupid. No, no, no. So I hope there was nothing underhanded that CK would have had dirt on. You know, I just, come on, guys. Play by the rules. Just, oh, and I ran across a woman yesterday, and she said that, oh, that guy that's so hyper, is it Miller? Stephen Miller? Um, that hands the presidents the things to sign. and she said, I was shocked. She goes, and now talk about his cabinet. And, this guy, he's a fucking Nazi. And I was like, what? Uh, 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 the things that he's done. And um, I know I have questioned right off the bat, where where have the homeless people gone to? They're not just in Washington, D.C., but they cleaned up a bunch of homeless people in St. Petersburg a year or two ago. And they went in and bulldozed down all the tents and stuff. And I'm pissed about that. Tell them to move and then give them a place to move to, right? But they just bulldozed their stuff and they were, pushing the homeless people and like, okay, you're already homeless. And so now to the homeless people, where they pitch their tents is like, you gotta be kidding me. You gotta be kidding me. You know, you pitched it in a median, you know, that's a point where did they move to? Yeah, where did they go? And so when they when Gavin and them went into San Francisco and cleaned it up for that visitor, right? And it was like, ooh, look how clean Frisco is. Where did they go? Where'd they put them? Of course, they could bulldoze all the stuff up and sweep the poo off the streets. But where did the people go? Where'd they put them? Did they take them to another country? Did they take them and drop them off in the ocean? Where did they go? Oh, well, there were so many people that, but where did they go? And some about DC. Where did the homeless go? Well, yeah, they moved them out of the parks and they moved them out of here. And yeah, okay, but where'd they go? Well, the homeless aren't on the streets anymore. Yeah, but okay, where did they go? Are they in another city? Did you open up a building and give the folks a place to crash and get them off the street? Where did they go? So, is Soylent Green really a a real thing? You know, um, you know, some of these energy bars, might be that homeless girl. Did you ever see the news report where a van was found parked illegal and had to be moved? And when they came, what to remove it, it was a kitted out execution van. Oh no, really? Well, I reported on this years ago. I did a Google search way back in the day when they were talking about um, all the different camps and everything, and how they were going to, you know, have the camps and they were going to start exterminating people and stuff, and Guantanamo Bay and all that. And it's like, well, I looked up and it's like there is one of those camps designated that is right over, about 45, 50 miles away from me, and it happens to be a, and the other one's in Pelham too. There's actually two, and they're state prisons. So, but they're designated as like Homeland Security, um, you know, um, you know, enforcement camps. And then there's the one in Thomasville that's 39,000 square feet underground. 39,000 square feet. That's pretty good size. Drive right underground. They do. They won't let you in, but they do. Um, so that's down here in South Georgia. Has been here in South Georgia. Um, so, but they haven't tried to open up any of the internment camps or anything. And where was I headed with that? Oh, I did a Google search, um, and I found that in storage in Valdosta at the Air Force Base, they had like nine, 1,900 guillotines. And I went, no way. Nuh-uh. And I passed it around, and it was like, I just Googled, da, 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 guillotines, blah, 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 and it showed up in Valdosta that they had like 1,900, or maybe it was 19,000. They had a bunch of guillotines, okay, chop your head off, um, that were like mobile units. Huge storage crate found on an ocean liner where made a torture made a tortured chamber fully. Yeah, oh, stop it. Within 2 days, the news report. Oh, now something was said the other morning on Fox and Friends, and or I guess it is Fox and Friends, and I think it was Brian Kilmeade that made the comment, and I was like, I was stunned, and there were a couple of other folks who heard it, and they were stunned as well. And they were talking about the homeless people and how, there were so many crazy people on the streets. And I made a video the other day that is not public because I was like, nah. Um, I have seen real crazy people. I was locked up in a real crazy house. And you know, I got I'm emotionally scarred, but I'm not fucking crazy. You know, them people were crazy. They needed to be locked up, right? So they're saying, the black gentleman, he's like, we need to, um, you know, put them on some kind of drugs or medication, or we need to help these people out. And if they won't do it on their own, um, I guess we need to make them take something to straighten out and to be and the lady was like, yeah, and we need to try to help. And then kill me said, or kill me, kill. And he said, or just kill him. And then that was the end of the segment. And it was like, or just kill him. And what did you just fucking say? So now, with that said, the crazy people that I've seen, there is, as much as I've thought about it over the years, these folks had absolutely zero um, redeeming qualities as a human being. I mean, they could barely speak, and if they did, It was gibberish and crazy talk. They couldn't do anything, even menial tasks, even take care of themselves, let alone do anything else. Um, some in a pinch could read or write a little bit, couldn't write their names or anything like that in any way. They could watch television and maybe keep up with the storyline, but would not be able to remember from day to day different things. The only thing they seemed to remember was when they got their medicine and when to eat, because those were the big events of the day. So they closed down Southwestern. I still think they've got folks in there, but they closed down Southwestern, which meant that there were jobs and nurses and people that lost their work. Where did those crazy people go? They turned a lot of them loose on the streets. So there are homeless folks, and it's like, well, you know, you need to, there's got to be a family member that can look after these folks, right? Well, in theory, that's true. But then there was this one gentleman, and he could do little things or big things, simple things, but he had to, Jesse Richards, I think, anyway, a big black gentleman, but he had a 2-year old, 3-year old, 5-year old, maybe, and a big black man that had seizures. And his sister was his caretaker. She got his check, and her only job was to make sure that he got his medicine every day. Well, she'd go off to Horan at the first of the month when the checks came in, and he wouldn't get his meds for 3, 4, 5 days, and then we'd pick him up and go to the center, and next thing we know, he'd be having a seizure. I know because I several times had to hold him down to stick one of those thingies, an airway down his throat to keep from choking. And it was nasty, spitting up, just nasty, nasty. God Almighty, huge man. And so there were at least 5 times that while I worked there that we saved him. His seizures were so bad. All she had to do was give him his drugs. Well, epilepsy, yep, and severe retardation. Uh, he was generally nice, but when he didn't get his meds, he would get real edgy, you know. And he didn't have enough sense to tell you what was wrong, you know. And so we'd sit there and ask him, did your sister give you your medicine this morning? No, sir. Did your sister give you medicine yesterday? Yesterday, Sunday. No, sir. She didn't come home till today. You know, she'd been up whoring. She medicine was gone. She cashed his check, and so it was about 6 months after I left there that I got word that um, Jesse Richards, yeah. Well, his sister didn't give him his meds, and the folks in the neighborhood used to kind of watch out for him, and he basically had a seizure. I think they said on his front porch, and the neighbors saw him, and they were like, "Man, there's something wrong with Jesse over there." Yeah, what's up with Jesse over there? And finally, somebody went over to check on Jesse, but he was already dead. So now, where am I coming with this and what that guy said about or just kill him? I have wrestled with this over the years because had been in a conversation with a psychologist lady, psychiatrist, and she was like, you know, um, her her thing was what the discussion was. If you see that there's a baby who is born who's a mongoloid, their head's this big, you know, and they got to have stents, and they got to make sure they keep the water off the head, that the head don't explode and everything. And what the prognosis of this child is going to be. It's a waterhead, and that's being cruel, but it's the truth. Their head keeps filling up full of water, hydrocephaly, hydrocephalic, hydro, water, cephalic, meaning, and then there's microcephalic, where the brain is actually shrunk. And that blind gentleman that I worked with, Larry Guyden, now he could be taught things, and he could speak and have conversation, and he couldn't sign his name because he was blind, but he did learn how to sort things, and he did know about music, and so there, he wasn't a total loss, and he was a joy to be around. Jesse, you know, utter a couple of words, everything you had to do you had to watch him all the time. So now there's Larry Guyden. He's black. He does need help, but he can remember things. He can sort things. There's Jesse over there. He's macrocephalic also. Jesse was born with a small head too. So, and that's what's caused, his issues. So, Larry does not have seizures, but Jesse does. So, the value of the human being, and you say, well, Dave, what do you mean the value of? Well, now these folks up above us, they are looking for value served. You have to be able to do something. Is the life anyone would want constant care and pain, and understand the conundrum yet. So, there were several of us that clapped when we heard that Jesse had passed. Oh no. Yeah, we did. We were sad. Don't get me wrong. We were really sad because we knew at some point, as much as we loved and took care of him while we could in our limited behavior thingy, But when he was at home and is left up to his sister, oh yeah, and now this has been 30 years ago too. Okay, so this ain't been no recent thing, but it is a true story. So now there's Larry, and somebody said, well, they heard that he passed, and we all went, oh man, none of us clapped when we heard about Larry, but they was both microcephalic, small heads, both had issues and retardation and all, and Larry was blind and needs care all the time, but he could do certain things. Um, he could walk around the house by himself. He learned how to get around the center by himself. He was learning other things. He was teachable. Now there's the other guy who went home and had a seizure and died. Somebody said, well, Larry's not any more better than Jesse. Jesse was a burden. So's Larry. What's Larry's value added human being thingy? He's talk about a burden on mankind. So shouldn't we just get rid of Larry too? Now nobody got rid of Jesse. We think his sister withheld his medicine on purpose. We do. Can't prove it, you know. But she was in charge, and um, but and I think it was to the point where, yeah, Larry Murley, yeah, but that she had had enough of taking care of him, because he would sit and rock and hold his hands close in, and yeah, and drool a lot, and there was not a lot else to him, which is really truly a shame. So now he was loose in the neighborhood, and we picked him up in the bus and took him, for 8 hours a day to the center. He got fed. Uh, he had people around him that, um, you know, loved him in the sense that we tried to teach him things, and we'd go out. He got in the swimming pool, and he liked being in. I mean, there were things that we did to show all of the clients a better life. And so, for the things that we did for the short durations, he had a good time. We did his best. We did our best to give him some kind of quality life. But now he's with the angels. But the question came up, when he was born, should he have been allowed to live? They knew he was macrocephalic, micro, small. They knew it. He would never be anything more than that. So, why did the doctors let this man, well, he was a boy, why did they let him live when they knew? Well, he was like 35 years old. He made it that long, right? He still had not attained any more other than learning how to walk and say a few words, and he could rake. He was really good at raking, but you had to move him. He would rake one spot until there was a hole to China. So But nowadays, there are children who are being born who doctors and society know that the chances of them being any kind of meaningful adult, I'm even sorting screws and nails and stuff. That is important and it's necessary. But and we need, folks to be able to rake leaves and and they don't have to have a lot of brains in order to do that. We don't need Mexicans. We have, you know, a bunch of, forgive me, but we have a bunch of retarded people that within our communities that it's their job. We hire these people to go and rake your yard. They get paid. They get a sense of feeling that they've accomplished something. They work with other people within the group. They go back to the center or wherever, they have a community meals and when they make money, they are taken to the store. They can buy their own things. They're taught these things. And so you say, oh my God, but yes, they're retarded. Yeah, absolutely. There's no other two ways said, but here's the thing. They can rake a yard. They can do certain things. And they are in our communities because they closed the nut houses. They've closed the facilities. And mom and dad are so old, they're in a nursing home and cannot care for this 35-year-old man or woman who is needs help 85 to 90% of the time. Now, to put it one more, should these folks have been left, should they have been allowed to live? Okay. Well, if the doctor, why didn't the doctor just, put something over their mouth or just put them over there and just let them die? Well, now there are some folks out there who are like, oh my God, well, you can't just, you got to do something. It's a living being. Yeah, but are you paying attention? Well, Hawkeye, what do you mean? Well, that little itty bitty baby over there has got, um, he's macrocephalic. His head is swelled twice as what it's supposed to be. We have to drain the water up. This child will have to have stents in his ears and his neck and will be severely retarded for the rest of his life because of this condition. Well, what about in the future? Nah, because the brain was already messed up coming out of the hole. And because of the extra water on the brain, it has already hurt parts of the brain. And we're sorry, but that child is only going to be wheelchair bound. Um, Maybe at some point you might be able to teach it to walk with assistance. Maybe, maybe, but most of the times, nope, it doesn't work. We've tried, you know, we keep trying to find something for macrocephalics, but same thing with a child that's born with um, Oh, cerebral palsy, cerebral palsy. And they want to name it something else. Cerebral palsy. And I've worked with several cerebral palsy victims over the years. Now, there is, I'm thinking of Lisa. Um, yeah, Lisa was in a wheelchair. She could speak. She had a speech impediment and she was twisted sideways. And I could give her therapy and she could straighten her arms out all the way. Um, we were trying to teach her how to walk. She was 10 years old last time I saw her. And, um, but I learned later on that when her mother passed away, she went to an assisted living and that she learned how to talk on the telephone and that she had learned some other life skills and she had worked through her speech impediment. She still had it, but and so and but she was still wheelchair bound. Um, but she was a happy, 25, 6, 8-year-old woman. And they had interviewed her, and I was like, that's Lisa. That's my Lisa. I helped her. Oh my God. You know, she's a she's stuck in a wheelchair, but she grew up and there she is. And and oh my God. So she had was productive, but on a small scale. But it was argued whether or not they should let her live. And her mother argued for it. And her mother loved her, but yeah, she wished that. So now there are homeless people, and their minds quite possibly are already gone because they were released from a mental institute. And there's really nothing up there. They wander around, and if you see them, they're doing some kind of weaving thing. A lot of times with their head down or cocked to one side, and they'll be muttering something. There are thousands of them all over the world. For at some point they got knocked in the head. And for me, I was in a state like that for many months. And all I could do was sit here and and drool. And because of my traumatic brain thing, should they have taken me to the happy farm and said, well, you know, he's just sits there and drools at and then now here I am after all these years and it's like God, I can actually talk sometimes. But so the crazy people out on the streets, the homeless people. Now there are homeless people who have just learned to not give a shit. And for those folks, I say, listen, put them in a group home, or put them in a FEMA camp. You got to put them somewhere where there's housing, right? You don't want them just wandering off. So there's going to have to be a fence around the place. Was that like a prison? No, it's a camp. It's a camp for crazy people. Assisted living, they get 3 meals a day. They're able to shower and they get clothes and there are work details and things. But basically, they're in a wing of the state prison. Well, what are we going to do with them? They're literally crazy. Putting them inside a crazy house did not work. We shut them down. Now, what are we going to do? We're going to put them back in the crazy. We're going to make some crazy houses, or are we going to put them in a, FEMA camp type things? Yeah, they're over there, and yeah. Hey, Joe, bring in the guillotine. What? Bring in the guillotine. Now, to me, that seems like the wrong way to do it. Here's the trick. Here's the ticket. Why the guillotine? Because if you chop off the head, you can save all of the internal organs. The person might be crazy, but their liver might be good. The person's drooling on both sides of their mouth, but their kidneys are good. So they chop their heads off. They don't want to give them a poison that might get lodged in one of those organs. So, hey, this one's got a good heart. So it has been said that they are growing the crazy people for organ donors. This, I want to add this. The crazy people are on some really crazy medications. So you'd end up getting one of these organs that could be very well saturated with these psychotropic drugs. But now, if you're trans, you got a heart and you go, hey, I got this heart here. You want it? Yes or no? I'll take it. You know, so, wait, there's a kidney over there. Yeah. Well, the guy, he drank a lot, but, he straightened out. I'll take it. So there have been discussions that there are people in China, in the northern regions or whatever, that they've gone out and tested whole families, DNA and everything. Yeah, fresh liver. Um, and that they have tested whole families with DNA, blood types, and the whole 9 yard. Wrote it down. Oh, the Ho Chi Joe and his family. They have type B blood, and they are of such and such, and they have a history of, and she, the mother is from this family, and they've had no, the 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 parents are still alive and they're 103, and okay, write this down. So, and then they go back to Hong Kong or wherever they go, and then somebody says, oh, we got this type B, we you know we need a liver, and we're looking for a donor. And they go, oh, guess what, we've got a donor up there in Ho Chi City up there. Yeah, it's from the Ho Chi family. Yeah, we'll just go up there and we'll just go get that lady and knock her out and take her liver and anything else that's in there. And we'll give her a good burial, or cremate her or something, or maybe grind her up and feed her, to the dogs and the hogs. There was a crazy farmer that killed people and made burgers and sausages out of them. Yeah, and sold them. And yep, and the folks also raved about how good those burgers were and how good the sausage was. That's for true. So, and there, I think it was one of them that survived the Donner deal, the Donner Pass folks. Well, the Donner family, um, the mother swore that she was able to feed her kids and family without having to serve them human, where the other families did in the other cabins. Big taboo subject that history avoids. Yep. And there was a lot of cannibalism that went around. And that it's like the I was it the Cook expedition across the Pacific, and they didn't want to talk about it, but the some of the ships would get, wouldn't be enough wind, the ship blah blah. They ran out of food. They ate all they had goats and chickens and stuff that they put on there, but if they didn't have anything to feed the goat and the goat died, well then they'd eat the goat. But if they had two or three goats and they didn't have anything to feed them, that they they said that how they made it was that they ate some of the crew, is where I was headed with that. So yum. Yeah, I don't know. So, but anyway, I think I'd be diving over that ship and trying to catch fish with my teeth or something, um, before I'd eat one of the crew members. Mm, ow, 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 ow. So anyway, um, I'm coming up on a 20, and the sun's coming up, and I missed buying my tags yesterday, so I'm gonna go make me a cup of coffee and try to stay awake, and I'm gonna go in and purchase my tags before my birthday on next Wednesday. Otherwise, if I were to buy my tags on my birthday, I would get fined for them being late. Yes, I did. Um, it cost me a fortune to pay the ad valorem tax, but once it's paid, once you pay that ad valorem tax, it's paid. Uh, for my, I've got two vehicles. I actually have four vehicles, but two of them don't run. So I got my pick 'em up truck, the Mazda, and then I've got my the Jeep. So every year you have to buy, um, it's a tax, and you buy a sticker to go on your tag. In most states now, they used to get a new tag every year, and then they were like, that was a big waste. So then for many years now, the last 30 some odd years or more, you go down there, um, on the month of your birth, you pay your tag registration. That's what it is. It's a tax, you know. So yeah, ours is a road tax, but they just name it slightly different. But you got to have that sticker on your tag, and it's got to say 2006 on it, and mine currently says 2000 September 2025. So I got to go in and get some that say 2006. Um, but I've got three trailers, and each of the trailers has a tag. So you they're $12 a tag for the trailers. So that's $36 right there. I got to come up with extra, and then they cut my Social Security check by $175 this month. So not only did they cut my check, now I got to pay, $40 for the trailer tags and another $40. I probably got $80, maybe 100. I got to pay out today for auto tags and registration for 2026. And it's like, happy birthday, Dave. I'll make it. It's okay. Yeah, $170 out of pocket. Yeah, I signed up for a special thing in the state of Georgia, and the state of Georgia pays my insurance, my Social Security insurance, and which is $175 a month. And so I filled out all the information, sent it in, and it's good from September the 1st of this year till August 31st of next year. But the paperwork was in on time. But the state of Georgia and the feds have not been able to talk together. So supposedly the state is going to pay it, um, which means Social Security is supposed to give me that money in my check, but it's not going to show up till next month if I get it. So it's like, well, son of a bitch. So I'm just making sure that I don't go anywhere. I just have to hunker down this month. My friend, and my sister want me to come down to Florida for my birthday, and I told him, I said, I'm just staying put. You know, well, could I come up with gas? Well, yeah, but we'll give you gas money if you come down. Well, yeah, but I always end up spending money. There's no way I can go somewhere and not have to spend money. Oh, it's my birthday. I know my sister wants to see me, and we were going to meet halfway at Brad's, and we were going to go out on the Swanee River and go fishing. And I still want to do that, but it might be October. That's all. You know, I got to wait. I got to pay tags first. I got to make sure that all my stuff's paid first. And if I got enough money left over, well, we'll see. But it costs money to go, and no matter what you do, say, well, I can, I can, buy some stuff here, and I don't have food stamps or nothing. So you know, um, so if I want something, I got to pay for it. Well, we'll see. And somebody was, aren't you heartbroken about it? And I'm like, well, would I like to see my sister and my friend for my birthday? Well, yeah, sure. But life is too short. I would much rather be able to pay my bills and save up my money, and then be able to do it at a more leisurely time. And y'all can, bake me a cake and wish me happy birthday then, um, pursuant to the fact that I might still be breathing, and that my heart's still beating. So, I take all those things into consideration. But where I'm a few years ago, or for a lot of my, oh my God, I can't do what I want to do on my birthday. Oh God, oh God, oh woe is me. I'm over that shit. I'm so over that now. And we'll see. We'll see. A friend of mine said, Dave, yeah, you're going to Florida. Oh yeah, the Jeep's fine, Richard. Um, Dave, you're going to Florida. And I said, well, yeah, okay. And, no, you're going to Florida for your birthday. And I was like, well, if I got enough money, no, you're going to Florida for your birthday. And I was like, but now I got my check was cut short, and I got to pay tags, and and they were like, yeah, and you ain't got my birthday present yet. And I kind of glazed over, like, what? You haven't gotten my birthday present yet. You're going to Florida for your birthday. So, okay, we'll see. You know, I'm just going to leave it at that. But for me, myself, and I just got to stay settled but if this person gives me gas money and traveling money like they said they were going to do, well, then me and Duggar will get in the Jeep and go, you know? So, anyway, I love you much, you all. It's 20 after. It's time. I like quiet birthdays. Yeah, I don't necessarily like parties. Um, oh, it's about 175 miles one way. Hey, Cherry, how are you? Goodness gracious. So, it's about 175 miles one way. It's 250 all the way down to my sister's. Well, 240. And the Swanee River's about halfway. Blessings to you, sweetie. I'm having a 20, and then I've been here for 2 hours and 42 minutes. But it is good to see you. I'm going to clock out here in a few minutes. The sun's coming up, and I need to get some rest before I go to town. 350 miles away. Good. I hope you're doing okay. Yeah, and that's one of the other things. You know, with having issues with my meds here recently, and with my heart trying to jump out of my chest, um, it's very comfortable in the Jeep. I can get the seat back and turn on the stereo and just cruise right on. So it's very comfortable. Um, my pickup truck's like riding in a pickup truck. you know, it's not bad, but it's like riding in a pickup truck. Riding in the Jeep is like, the stereo and the thing. In the truck, the radio, you know, has gone defunct years ago, and I drive with the windows down, and in the Jeep, it's like windows are up, air conditions on, it's all controlled, and you're driving, you know, and in the pickup truck, the windows are down, and and you're taking in the air, and you feel the wind blowing, and you're aware of your situation. In the Jeep, it's windows are up, and you're listening to tunes, and And I haven't been on well, the last time I was on a road trip was when I brought the Jeep back up here. So, you know, um, but anyway, so I would like to see my friend Brad, who just had that major surgery, and I'd like to see him and hang out with him, and um, we'll see. Um, yeah, that's right. Looking out my back door, right, and put me in, coach. I'm ready to play today. Happy 20. Oh, that was a good one. Put me in, coach. I'm ready to play today. Center field. Um, anyway, so to sort of wrap up the Charlie, the Kimmel thing. Um, as I've sat here the last 3 hours almost and thought about it some more, I don't want to shake the guy's hand. I don't want to well, let's let bygones be bygones. No, I think you were a turd. I think you were a mean turd. And I'm not going to shake your hand. Well, do you want me to forgive him, and bring him on over and say, well, come on over, let's have a cup of coffee. No, no, I don't want to shake hands with him. I don't want to make friends, you know. Nope. I'm sorry. You showed your ass. You showed what kind of turd you can be. And no, I don't want to, make up, shake your hand and say, well, it's okay. No, I can tell what kind of person you are from what you said and how you said it. And enough's enough. Yeah. And again, as I said 2 hours ago, this is not Donald Trump's fault that ABC or whatever. No, this is people. This is folks like you and me going, nah, we have had enough, right? Cancel the clown. That's right. He's not funny anymore. He is a horrible host personality. He has been way too mean for way too many years. And ABC needs to cut their losses. I don't know, they're paying him millions of dollars a year for what? For him to assault, insult, and assault people. That's right. I'm Charlie Kirk, and Kimmel's a turd. You know, Kimmel's a turd. Kimmel's a turd. Kimmel's a hot, steaming pile of turd. He's a turd. And what I keep coming back to is that Donald Trump got him fired. No, he didn't. Jimmy Kimmel, listen to me as I wrap this up. Jimmy Kimmel had any millions of other things he could have said or done in that same situation. He's the host of the show. I'm sure that there was nobody holding a gun to his head saying, "This is your monologue and this is what you're going to say." He has a lot of say so about his monologue and what he says or does on the show. And there were a million other things he could have done. Oh, I took my meds hours ago, but I'm not due for my meds until like 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock. So I got a bunch of hours later. But thank you. But so the fact that, oh, he's devastated. Tough shit. And that people are blaming Trump. No. He's the only one to blame for what's happened. And you say, well, Hawkeye, how can you say that? Because as an entertainer myself, doing puppets in front of children, it was up to me how I wanted to open up the shows. If I wanted to do with this or twist a puppet that way or make a joke or stand on my head or do the hoochie coochie sometimes in front of the kids and they'd all laugh. And or I would just stand behind the thing and bring a puppet out, which was much more solemn. And so there were any number of ways that I could start one of my puppet shows. It was up to me. I was the sole creator of the marionetters, of the Bonehead Brothers, the sole proprietor, the sole, you know. So I could start my shows any way I wanted to. And I did. Now I fell into a pattern with certain, and if I was um, doing summer reading program, I did the same shows for different libraries, but I started each show out differently, even though the theme was the same. I hated doing the same thing the same way every time. I always tried to change it up. So the fact that I see Jimmy Kimmel, who has this nationwide audience on a major network, who stoops so low as to make up a lie. Well, they're trying hard to disavow that he's MAGA because, they're going to use this to make some kind of political advancement or, are, are you nuts? See, it still pisses me off. This is not Kimmel's uh, this is not Trump's fault. This is every bit Kimmel's fault. He was the asshole. Thank you, Pathfinder. Dos Equis. Stay thirsty, my friends. I keep practicing it. Stay thirsty, my friends. I want to be able to say it with gusto, mucho gusto. Stay thirsty, my friend. Yeah. But, that video I did about that stay thirsty, thirsty for knowledge, not just for beer, but stay thirsty for knowledge, stay thirsty for life. I've got some friends of mine at their old age. They're like, yeah, well, it's nice, but they, it's life for them has become ho hum, and it's like you're not dead yet. Don't give up. You're not yet. Look, I've had my good days and bad days. Day before yesterday, I had a freaking great day. I fixed the truck. I mowed the grass. I pulled a bunch of weeds. I worked on a something, and and I was like, oh, I took the garbage up, um, and and I had a great day yesterday. Of course, I was up all night the night before and doing a video and everything. And I'm always slow the next day on Wednesdays. What day is today? Thursday? But so anyway, um, I feel good this morning. I'm still pissed off at Kimmel. I'm pissed off at these people blaming Trump for everything. You know, this wasn't his fault. Sorry. Now, could he have called somebody at ABC and said, "Hey, are you serious?" But um, I think the people at ABC watched it and went, "Oh no!" And because the remarks about a potential assassin, the killer, after millions of people have been upset about the assassination, and then you make a joke about it to make a dig to the president because you don't like him. So that's what I think about it. Shame on you. No. And look, he's made millions of dollars. If Kimmel doesn't have enough money to support himself for the rest of his life, then he needs to go get he needs to get a job doing something else. But um I applaud ABC for finally getting rid of him, and not because Trump said so. And I'm hoping, I know I'm just a small voice on YouTube, but I'm hoping other people like me will speak up and say, like, um, I'm Charlie Kirk, and Jimmy Kimmel was wrong. Jimmy Kimmel is just mean, like the title of this video. Jimmy Kimmel is just mean. And there's a time in this world to be mean, and the meanness the other day that he did, there was no reason that he should have said how he said it, except that he wanted to be mean. Are you following me? It wasn't a joke. There was nothing funny about it. He said it to be mean. After everybody in the United States is mourning Charlie Kirk, and he uses this, and the young man that Oh, for political gain? For that? So tell your friends, speak up, say something, and say, I don't like what Jimmy Kimmel did. It's not Trump's fault that he got canned. I spoke up and said, told ABC to can him. We need to speak up and say, no, it wasn't Trump, it was me. Trump didn't do it. I did. I'm Charlie Kirk with a long gray beard. Maybe it's a good thing these people showed their truth. Yes, absolutely, Terry. And you see, a couple of months ago, several months ago, and I spoke about this over a year ago now, that the White Hat said that that unfortunately, what was going to happen was things were going to have to get so bad before people would actually go, oh my God, I can't believe it's so bad. And before people would, like, oh, really? And so it's been about 2 or 3 years ago now. I remember the underground folks I was listening to were like, um, when it looked like Trump was coming back for this time. And it was like the white hats are like, we had, it had to be this way so the normies would see just how bad it really is. So while being asked about it, how do I feel about the future? I feel good about the future. You know, I'm still going to get a chance to, go down the Oclockney River. I'll get to go boating on the Swanee. It might not be next week, but you know, I'll go. I'll get to go on a Swanee. You know, I'm not dead yet. I'm still breathing. I'll take my medicine. And some days my heart feels like it's jumping out of my chest, and other days is great. You take the good with the bad. And for every day that I have left here on this earth, I'm going to smile and thank the good Lord Jesus Christ. Thank you, I'm still here. And I'm going to smile regardless of how hard it is. I've been in jail, I've been in solitary confinement. And, some of these folks that think they know so much, you don't know so much. But I would ask, what are they doing with the thank you, Pathfinder. That's a good one. Be like the water and go with the flow. And as one of the my medicine man teacher told me, because I have the river in the backyard, and at the time that um, he was teaching me how to do the full moon ceremony, he was like, David, um, the river is always flowing. Well, right now it's real low, but at the time it was up and running. Just it was beautiful. And but he says, so you look up river and you see the water come down the river, and then you look down the river and you see where the water has been and where it's going. So you see new water coming at you, and as you see it, and as you it goes by you for your um, for your vision quest, for your visual appreciation, and then that water travels on, and and you can see it go. So you can see where it's coming from and where it's going to, where it has come from and going to. And so with the left hand, you take the problems that you've had and write your problems down on this piece of paper, or write it in the palm of your hand. And he was like, use your finger and write it on the palm of your hand, you know, that which has been bad in your life that you want to get rid of. So you write it in the palm of your hand. So you get rid of your troubles and problems, and um, with a gift of some cornmeal down the river. You don't put it in front of you, you put it down the river from you, away from you. It's down the river. So all the bad things, all the bad karma, all the whatever, but you've got it here. And you're asking the spirits to take this away from me. And then with this hand, with the right hand, you give an offering again of some tobacco and of some um, cornmeal. And what you ask for, what you wish to come into your life. Lord, I need a new job. And you put forth with your right hand and you give those things to the river as the water is coming to you. So that here to the Creator, here are the things that you offer these gifts to the river and to the water. And so in that, then this is your gift to the Creator, and hoping that the river of life will bring you this thing. And you had to get rid of the old stuff first before you could accept anything new. And the promise had to be in your ceremony, the promise had to be that you would uphold it, that you would do it. If you were going to get rid of this bad stuff that you wanted it, then you were going to work to make sure that it stayed gone. And then for the gifts that you were asking for with your right hand to the waters and to the gift, you gift these things so that you have, since you got rid of the bad stuff, now you have made room for the good things that you're hoping for and wishing for to come into your life. And the promise is that you will work hard to get those things without cheating or stealing or anything like that. So I have, and as the medicine man, I conducted the ceremony for the initiative. So I took them to the river. I helped them with getting rid of the bad and helped them to um, how to ask for the good. And I had several people within a week call me and say, I believed you, Dave, Hawkeye, but I can't believe that I was having this issue and something, and it's been 5 days, and it's up, and my problem, there came a resolution to my problem. I can't believe it. And he said, And it's because I got rid of, I didn't ask him what it was, you know. Uh, he got rid of that which was holding him down, and he got rid of it down the river with, with sufficient cornmeal and tobacco, and a solemn promise, to the Creator. Um, and so that when he gave, so within a week, he called me. He said, I couldn't believe it. He said, and I realized that it was because I had gotten rid of the old baggage. He said I was so wrapped up. I think it had something to do with the next wife or something. But he had to get rid of it. And then when he did, things just opened up, and he was like, I just can't believe it. He said, I got my wish, and blah, blah. Full moon ceremony worked for me. That's what he said. So, um, to this day, I feel very grateful for that ceremony that night. And even though it got interrupted with some really evil spirits, that the folks that I did get to, um, and how and that we finished their portion of the ceremonies, that they all had good luck. So, you know, there's something to the ceremony, I guess. Um, it depends on who you are and if you believe it, because one of the things that Joe told me, he said, there are people who are going to go, well, you said I was going to get what I wanted, and you said, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, but also said that as part of the deal, you have to work on this. You really got to want it in your heart to get rid of the bad, and you really got to want it in your heart to accept the new gift that you're asking the Creator. Oh, absolutely. And that's the big thing. Believe, 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 because this ceremony, no matter what, if you went to church and had the Pope pray over you, whatever the ceremony, if you yourself don't follow through on it, if you don't believe, 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 then it's the blessing can just go right over your head sometimes, or you'll be walking down the street going, "Where is it? I know it's around here somewhere," and it'll be free stuff. There'll be a sign, free stuff, and you go, "Yeah, yeah, okay, free stuff, yeah," and you walk right on by, and it's the wait a minute, that free stuff thing, that was your gift. The free stuff, you had to stop, you had to read it, you had to pay attention, you had to follow the instructions, and then you got free stuff. But you were like, oh yeah, free stuff, okay. And you were so in a hurry, thinking that the free stuff you're going to get was something else, something more voluminous, bigger, voluminous, big, great big, voluminous. Yeah, I think so. Sometimes big blessings come in small packages. I mean, they just do. And sometimes, like for example, the small package, is like, oh my God, I don't know. I thought, my daddy was going to get me he's going to get me a truck for my birthday. Yeah, well, and what is this? I get a box, there's some, it don't even rattle. And what the hell is this? And this is my birthday present? Well, Junior, open it up. Well, go dog, mom. Well, I thought I was looking outside. There ain't no pickup truck out there. or nothing. Oh, damn son of a gun. I thought Daddy was gonna, and he opens up the box, and there are keys with instructions that the truck's hidden in the barn. Oh, and he grabs the keys and goes, pushes the button and goes, beep, 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 and the truck starts. What? Just like the Jeep starts with the key fob. What? So, but, the present was a small box that were the keys to the new truck. So, but if you pass by those small boxes, well, that shit, that ain't nothing. Where's my truck? Well, you had to open the box, you had to read the instructions, and then that's where the prize was. So people don't pay attention enough to simple instructions, and that there are lots of free stuff in the universe. They're free if you follow the instructions. Hey, Hawkeye. Yeah? I got a bunch of old lumber. You do? I'll give you this free lumber. It's an old tobacco barn. Yeah? It's up on a hill there in Berlin. Yeah? You can have that tobacco barn. Really? Yeah. But you gotta have it down in 3 weeks. What? That's right. If you want that tobacco barn, you gotta have it down in 3 weeks. But, okay. Can you do it? Can you tear that tobacco barn down in 3 weeks? I think so. What do you mean you think so? I, I think I can. Yeah, I think I can tear it down in less than in 3 weeks by three. And yeah. So that was the verbal agreement I made to the tobacco barn in Berlin on the hill. And I worked my immortal ass off. And some of that wood is in this house to this day. Right up there, some of that wood. I look at every day. And it was free. But I had to make contract with a guy because he wanted it done in 3 weeks. And I got it down, but I didn't have the piles moved because I was trying to pull all the nails out of it. Yeah, and it was the old hard pan. And they used them split nails, not a regular nail, the square head, the spikes. And they were buried in at an angle down, and every one of them, and it was tongue and groove, 1x4. It was covered over that with tar paper, and then over that with rolled roofing. And so it's like, so I learned how to pull to get you had to pull the boards up at the way the nails were driven in. And you couldn't pull the nail. If you tried to pull the board straight off, nah, you had to get on the inside and force it up. And then you could pull it out a little bit. But yeah, I learned how to tear the tobacco barns down. I learned how to tear down old buildings, and and still have it. So upstairs is mostly where the old wood is at the moment. This wall used to have all old wood, but the termites got into it. Um, but so my point is that, you know, there are folks that will give you free stuff, but you might have to move it or do something to, but it's free. Say, well, no, I don't know. So there, people can and will give you free things just for moving it. So in this world, can you get free stuff? Yeah, but you got to work for it. You got to do, you know, I don't know. I wish somebody would bring me some free stuff, you know. Oh, but I did. Oh, speaking of free stuff, then I'm going to let you go. It's 3:20. The other night, it was about 9:30, Sunday night. And me nor Duggar heard him pull up. And he's got himself a new used Jeep, sort of like mine, but not the Cherokee. And anyway, I look outside there and I'm like, man, that's my buddy Rob who comes and checks on me, right? And I'm like, dude, is that him? And I get up to go to the door, and he's already come in the back door over there. And Duggar starts barking like, "Well, you snuck up on me, you know." And he's got this big plate covered with aluminum foil, and I meet him halfway over there towards the door, or over yonder. And what you doing here? And what you got? He goes, man. He says, we had, you know, some fried fish dinner today, and I thought about you. And the last time you said you had, you know, good fried fish dinner, you know. And I said, well, the last time you brought me fried fish, you know, or I went over to their house and they had it, you know, fish fry. And he goes, are you serious? And it was been like a year ago. And I was like, yeah, but I mean, you know, it's okay. So underneath that aluminum foil were two different kinds of beans. Well, peeled peas and baked beans. Then there was coleslaw, homemade coleslaw with carrots in it, and just the right amount of carrot too, I might add. Then there was grits, and his wife makes I can't eat grits from other people, but she makes grits I can eat. There were two different kinds of French fries. There was sweet potato French fries, and there were regular potato French fries. That they were homemade French fries, but the white potatoes were done sort of curly style. Okay. Now, plus with that, there were two large hush puppies, and on top of that were six pieces of some of the best fried fish I have ever ate in my lifetime. Oh my God, it was white and flaky. Not one bone did I find in any of that fish. Oh, dog. Man. Now, I didn't get no dessert, which from a southern point of view, you're going to have fish like that. Somebody's going to have some cake or something. But, so I have yet to call him back and tell him because he's been busy. But when I see him next time, I'm gonna jump in his arms and give him a great big old hug. I'm gonna kiss him on the cheek, and I'm gonna say, because it fed me on Sunday and fed me on Monday. I couldn't eat it all. you know, and I still had some the next day. And I mean, and it was good the next day, cold. You know, I mean, oh my goodness, God Almighty. So when you know the right people, sometimes people will just show up at your door and give you stuff, like that meal the other night. Lord have mercy. You know, God bless you, Rob. He checks on me uh, a lot and make sure that I have and make sure that every once in a while I get a good a southern cooked meal, you know. But anyway, so my dear friends, I love you. I do. And for anybody who might get this far, you know, if I don't know you, I still love you. And I will continue to pray each and every day, and I do, that each and every one of you will continue to learn how to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the many blessings from the universe. And believe, 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 believe. And uh, thank you, Pathfinder. Very much good to see you in the chit chat there. And thank you for the videos. My brain is feeble, having had several traumatic brain injuries, and it's nice to be able to rewatch something to go, oh yeah, I that's yep, that's right. Um, thank you, Richard. Always, always, always. And yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna take a nap or not. It's about time for me to just, you know, make some fresh coffee and go on into town. I done I done yapped enough now to take a nap now would just I'd go to sleep and then wouldn't wake up till 4 o'clock tonight, and then I'd miss my chance to go to the courthouse. So y'all be safe, and you need a nap. Go ahead, take a nap for me, Richard, and I will see you next time. Please be safe. Um, keep it between the ditches, my friends, and cheers. Stay thirsty, my friends. Dos Equis.